was checking out my stored Dahlia tubers today and I noticed something that I thought it would be useful to talk about. These guys are Hillcrest Jersey. These are Oreti Bliss. And if I just move this box out of the way. And these are Downham Royal. Now these three different varieties have had a different life story, and you can tell by looking at the tubers as to what their histories are, and I thought I'd go through that today to unravel what is a bit of a mystery when looking at Dahlia tubers. Trying to fathom out what you're actually looking at and what's going on, and the better the understanding you have of that, the less likely you are to make the best of your Dahlia propagation. It's the middle of January here, and I'm beginning to think about how to plant up my dahlias, when to plant them up, and I've actually got my pot dahlias have arrived, and I've potted those up. Here's this year's pot tubers, which I planted up just yesterday. Only 6 varieties because I've got plenty of dahlias for next year, and I'm just introducing 6 new varieties. So I'm doing that by using pot dahlia tubers and taking cuttings. So we're now in the middle of January, and there's plenty of time to take those cuttings and get them into growth before I plant them out at the end of May. So we've got 3 tuber clumps here, and on the face of it they just look like any old Dahlia tuber clumps. But if we look closely, there are 3 different configurations of the tubers and the stems, the stalks here, which tell the story of how that particular plant was grown last year. So I thought it would be useful to have a look and for me to describe the differences between these 3 tuber clumps. So this one is Hillcrest Jersey, and you can see it's quite a tight bunch of tubers, and there's a single stalk. There's a single previously that this was the stem of the plant. So just looking at the stem, we can say straight away that it only had one stem, one shoot. There are no other shoots on this tuber. So however this was put in the ground, it only had one shoot, and there's 2 ways that we can have a plant with one shoot. One is that plant was taken from a single tuber with one eye, and it put out one shoot, and maybe more than half of our dahlias are grown that way. A single tuber with a single eye, and it puts out a single shoot. And the other way is that this might have been a cutting, because cuttings have only one shoot, of course, and we're taking those at the moment or we will be taking them once they grow from the pot tubers, and each of those single cuttings will become a plant with one shoot. And in fact, I know that Hillcrest Jersey, that's the history of this particular plant, is that last year we took cuttings from pot dahlia tubers, and each of those cuttings became a single plant which grew more tubers, and this is the final result. So this is a tuber clump which has come from a rooted cutting. This is Oreti Bliss, and again we've got a single shoot here, so we can say that whatever the history of this plant is, it was grown with a single shoot. And like I said before, single shoots can come from either cuttings, such as the Hillcrest Jersey, or they can come from single tubers. And the way that we tell the difference, just by looking at this tuber clump, is that it has a mother tuber. So this tuber here is a different shape, you can see, and there's a different texture to it, and the bottom is different. So this was the original single tuber that we grew our Auretti Bliss Dahlia from. So we can look at this and say we've got a single stem here, and we've got a mother tuber, and therefore the history of this plant is that it was grown from a single tuber. Now let's look at the last one, which is Downham Royal. Now things are a bit different here, because you can see straight away that we've got 1, 2, or in fact 3, 4, 5 really, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 stems coming from this one tuber clump, and that tells us that that this wasn't a single stem growth, it was multiple. And the only way we're going to get this many shoots from one original planting is that this was a clump. This was a clump of tubers which we put in the ground, and we allowed one too many, or two too many really, shoots to come. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So normally we'd allow 5 shoots, so I let this one go somehow, and it's produced 8 shoots, each of which will be productive in the way of flowers. We're not going to be able to see, simply because it's too tight, this clump. We're not going to be able to clearly recognise the mother tubers, but there will be mother tubers there, because this plant was planted as tubers. I'll be dividing. You can see one of the things we're going to have to do soon is to divide these tubers, and you can see that the single tuber, the single stem rather, the single stock is much easier to divide, because we can see what's going on, and we're just going to make a division there and then another division there, and we'll end up with perhaps 4 or so small tuber clumps, each of which will be planted. This is a rather different kettle of fish, because it's so tight and there's so many tubers packed into a small space, that it's going to be more difficult for us to say, right, well, there is the crown, and we can cut through the crown. In this case, because there are so many shoots, so many stems, it's difficult to recognise where the crowns are of these other shoots. You'd say that there is a crown which has come from these 3 shoots, so we'll probably make our first division through there. Once they start to open up, then the anatomy becomes much clearer, so we'll be able to proceed, but I'll be doing that as another video, because that is a difficult tuber clump to divide. Well, I hope you found that some use to solve the mystery of the Dahlia tuber clump. Many thanks for watching, and I hope to see you for the next video.